Hi, I'm Heather, and this is my husband Gian. We've been on the GAPS diet for 5 weeks, and so I just wanted to share a little bit of our success and just our update so far. We started the diet for mainly Gian's migraines and chronic headaches that he's had for 15 years. And it was really, really debilitating for us as a couple and just in general because it's like our work schedules, like he would be in bed 3 days a week and nothing helped. Drugs didn't help. Chiropractic care didn't help. Supplements, gluten-free, like everything didn't help. And I felt like for a while he should do the GAPS diet because it was like a histamine gut issue. But it wasn't until recently that he really got on board and was like, okay, I need to get over these headaches. And that was like a really, really big turning point. Just him saying like, I can't do this anymore. I got to get rid of these headaches. Let's do GAPS. So we did the intro diet, which was intense, and I felt a lot of die-off and felt really tired, and Gian cut out coffee that week, so that was really rough as well. But then transitioning onto the full GAPS diet has been really, really good, and 5 weeks in, just from my experience, we didn't really do it specifically for me, but I feel really good. I'm enjoying the food a lot. My skin feels really clear. I just feel really good, and just we're eating like way more vegetables. We ate mostly almost all home cooked meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner before, but now it's like everything's from scratch, everything's from the farmer's market, and it just feels really good. And it feels really good for me just on a personal level. There goes our smoothie. Before the GAPS diet, we had to do a low histamine diet just to kind of keep Gian's migraines from not going too crazy.
Which was even a bit of a faith journey for me too, because I wasn't sure. I was committed to doing the GAPS diet, but I just kind of was like, I don't know. But then doing that when we were in New Zealand, I think I had 2 headaches the whole time, which is very small.
But anyway, just for when we started the GAPS diet and before that, it's like we couldn't have leftovers. I had to be crazy specific about everything he ate. Like I couldn't get meat that had been sitting on the shelf, like in the refrigerated section. It had to be butchered, frozen immediately, thawed immediately, cooked immediately. Any type of leftovers or slightly old meat or slightly old anything that was cooked and then put in the fridge, like headache. Everything gave him a headache. It's so nice not having to be so worried about what Gian's eating. Like I felt like trying to be a good wife, trying to get my husband to not have headaches, and it was just like a full-time job trying to do a crazy low histamine type diet. And it worked really well, but I'm so glad we're doing GAPS because just a few weeks in, I'm already able to be so much more lenient with our food. Like he's had leftovers a ton. He can just defrost soup that's in the freezer or defrost it and then have it a day later, which we could never have before. And so my life just feels so much easier already, not having to be so particular about everything, and then not feeling guilty. Like if I accidentally left meat out and then we cooked it and then, I don't know, he'd have a migraine, I would feel so guilty. So just for me, that's been really amazing.
So for me, the first 2 weeks were the hardest. I had the most cravings. I can't say I had any doubts because I went into this like thinking it was going to be the hardest thing in the world because I like food, and especially like food. If I'm feeling down, I'm like, I want to have something nice, it's just... We
both like chocolate.
Yeah.
And he likes wine and whiskey and stuff like that.
Yeah. The first 2 weeks were the hardest. Did have a few headaches. That was rough, and especially it was rough because I didn't have coffee for the first 2 weeks. And usually if I do have a headache, coffee is something that I would use to kind of minimize the pain.
So going from like no grains, no sugar, no dairy on the intro, like nothing, and no coffee.
Yeah.
It was
really tough. And then thankfully I lasted that long, and then we reintroduced coffee. That made it bearable for me because it was also synonymous with me with like just work. Like it's like I get up, I make a coffee. It's just like part of my morning kind of ritual. And It was really hard for the first 2 weeks. But, to be honest, since then, headaches subsided. Headaches subsided quite a lot. And energy started to come back. And I think it got to the point where I kind of understood the parameters of the diet a bit more. And so I could leave the house without fear that I would break the rules. And, I think both of us haven't actually broken any of the rules.
Luckily, we don't have to leave the house anymore because we're isolated and we can't leave the house.
Yes, this is us.
It's actually the perfect time to do the GAPS diet. It's like when you can't leave the house.
Pretty much.
Everyone's talking about like, I'm gaining so much weight during this isolation and quarantine. I'm like, well, we're not.
Yeah, not really. Other good news is after the 2 weeks, maybe say the third week, I didn't really crave any other food. Like I walk into to pay fuel and there's just lollies everywhere. Like not that I would ever really buy them before doing the GAPS diet, but I'd look at them and I'd be like, oh, should I? I would like to. Where now it's like I don't even desire it or want it or, So that's really good. And I pretty much, other than having a family emergency last week, haven't had a headache. Feels like in 2 or 3 weeks.
And that was just from stress,
yeah,
which always gave him headaches before. Like any type of stress, any type of staying up past 8 o'clock. It felt like, and it felt like we could do everything right. Like go to bed on time, drink enough water, don't do this, don't do that. And it was like headache. Like I don't know why, but.
So biggest thing for me personally is that I'm starting to feel confident. I'm starting to feel as though I can be a bit more reliable. And also for myself, like reliable to other people, but within myself, like reliable to me and my goals and my, when you write goals, you have times in which you want to achieve them. Like I could just never do that because I would have 1 or 2 or 3 migraines and it just sets everything back. It's not only sitting back because of the time, but it's also like after you have a headache, you kind of give up. You just kind of give into it that it's really actually hard to just personally get motivated. The next day.
It's like every day's a Monday. Because you're like trying to get back into the cycle of work.
And then you start going and then you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I just get a headache again. So I've been pushing it this week especially. And that's kind of the biggest thing I wanted to say. Is just I've never been tired without having a headache. I've never been tired without a really bad migraine. And I haven't had much sleep the last 3 days.
He's gone to bed 1:30, midnight.
Woken up at 6.
Really late the past few days and woken up early. Yeah. And you haven't had a headache at all.
No headache at all. And Heather asked me, I don't know, 2-3 days ago, how you doing? You okay? And I was like, yeah, great. I'm so tired. She's like, oh. And I'm like, no, that's awesome. I'm just tired. I'm not tired with the migraine. Honestly, the last 5 weeks, I've never felt tired in my life. Just tired. I've always been tired and a migraine. And so to just be tired, even though being tired sucks, it's so good. I'm super.
So something else that's been really, really helpful has been milk kefir smoothies. So I started making raw milk kefir a couple months ago maybe. Mm-hmm. And it has a ton of histamine in it, so Gian's had to avoid it. But it also has a ton of really beneficial bacteria and yeast in it that when they start to populate your gut, they actually do a really good job breaking down histamines and they can prevent the release of histamines in your gut. So it's kind of like short-term pain, long-term gain. And I wanted to introduce them really slowly because I just knew they would give Gian a headache. So I was like, a drop. But Gian's a man and men do things like, oh, it's going to help. Give me a whole bottle. And I'm like, well, it might give you a migraine. He's like, it's fine if it's going to help long term. So immediately he was like, after doing the intro, he was like, give me a kefir smoothie every day. So we've been doing these smoothies where it's about a cup of raw milk kefir, maybe a cup and a half of fruit. We just do frozen mango that I chop up every week. Maybe a little bit of water sometimes, and then coconut oil. About a tablespoon of coconut oil and blend it. And you put the coconut oil right before you blend it or else it'll freeze.
And avocado lately, and it's been so good.
Yeah, but we couldn't do avocado till recently because it's really high in histamines. But that has just been such a huge part of Gian's healing. Like, I just know the high amounts of healthy bacteria and yeasts are really repopulating and changing his gut so that he's able to break down histamines, and that his cells aren't just releasing histamines the way they were before.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm surprised by is that I honestly thought it was going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. And then once we got past the 3-week mark, or even really the 2-week mark, it just feels like I'm not really doing a diet. I mean, I don't eat, X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, it's really weird to be experiencing relief from headaches, skin issues, but I don't really feel like I'm doing anything all that hard. I mean, Heather's doing a lot of cooking and stuff like that.
I'm doing the hard work.
Yeah, but in terms of actually just, like, it's really easy. It's weird.
It is hard. It's hard for, like, a meat and potatoes kind of guy to, like, scale back. And I think most guys, when men are hungry, they're just like, give me food. They don't, you're not like, oh, I can't eat that. Oh, that has gluten. Like, that's just not. But
I think
normal for most guys.
Looking from the beginning, I think you and I both had, like, impressions that it was going to be really hard and that I was going to have so many issues. But, like, within the first 2 weeks, I'm not saying we've completely dealt with it, but it's like we got through the hardest part, and it's, like, been I haven't had any issues.
I feel like we could sustain this forever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we made a smoothie, and these flies really like.
Yeah.
So that's just another little thing, but we're going well. I think we're gonna just keep to it. I mean, I think when you have chronic migraines, like, if you find something that works, you'll do anything to keep them at bay. But it's been really encouraging because I've been able to be a lot more liberal with food, and, like, introducing avocado and introducing more sauerkraut and some of these high histamine foods that he couldn't normally have, and we haven't really seen any bad reactions. So I'm obviously not dumping a million histamines on his plate at every meal, but it's really, really, really nice for me to not have to worry and stress about everything he's eating and whether or not it has this many histamines, because every food has histamines in it. So I just felt like this crazy scientist that was like, oh my gosh, he had, like, some cheese on his eggs, so he can't have anything the rest of the day. And it was very stressful. So I feel happy.
I have one extra little thing that I think is really cool, and you're probably not going to find it really cool, but for me personally, like, things are so sweet. Like, having an apple, it's, like, so sweet all of a sudden. Like, if I'm craving sugar or something, it's like just having an apple is sweet enough for me now. As opposed to, like, I've always kind of been a dessert guy. Like, I like chocolate, I like Mars bars and Snickers and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I've woken up a few times, or, like, especially when it's really late and I'm trying to stay awake, like I will, especially if I haven't eaten, I might really crave something like that. But then I'm like, I just have an apple, and I'm like, whoa, if anything, it's, like, too sweet. I just found that I didn't go into that expecting that, but
yeah, definitely.
That's kind of really cool. I feel like my taste buds have changed and stuff, and like I said, it wasn't hard. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So not the hardest thing you've ever done.
Not the hardest thing I've ever done.
Amazing results so far, and I'm just excited to see what else happens, because it's only been a little over a month. So yeah, I just wanted to share how we're already seeing success with headaches and migraines and histamine intolerance, because a lot of the people out there that have, like, specific histamine diets, I wouldn't even call them histamine healing diets. They're more like how to deal with having histamine intolerance. Yeah, a lot of those I've read and have seen, they're like, the GAPS diet is the worst diet you could do for histamine intolerance. And it's just not true. If you know what you're doing and you know actually how to manage the GAPS diet with histamine intolerance, and then you'll have amazing long-term success. And we are believing that we're going to introduce, potatoes and grains. We're going to introduce everything back in, and he won't have to deal with this at all anymore. So, and if you don't know where to start, book an appointment with a nutritionist who has experience with histamines, a GAPS practitioner. So I would say get advice from a GAPS practitioner if you're like, I need to heal this histamine issue, but don't really know where to start, and I don't want to, like, blow my brains out on the GAPS diet with all these foods that might exacerbate my symptoms. So thanks for watching this video. I hope it's helpful if you're having migraines, or you just need some hope that the GAPS diet might really work for migraines or histamine intolerance, we're here to tell you it's been a powerful help in our lives. So thanks for watching, and we'll do another video soon. Hi, thanks for watching my video. You can feel free to comment or like below, or you can follow me on Instagram or on my website.